Okay, I think we can start our session today. So we will start with a very brief introduction about PACE, and then we will start our workshop today. So once again, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Varchi Andreasyan. Many of you may know me. For some, I should be like I may be a new face. I'm a business counseling manager at PACE, Business Development Center. Again, thank you for being here, and we truly appreciate your interest in this workshop. So to start, I would like to briefly introduce PACE. We are a nonprofit community development organization, and we are proudly celebrating our 50 years of services this year. Our programs span early childhood education, workforce development, energy efficiency, business development, and many more. Through our Business Development Center, we support entrepreneurs across Southern California by offering business counseling, procurement assistance, and access to capital. PACE operates 2 of 10 BusinessSource Centers in the city of Los Angeles, which are like Pico-Union Westlake Center and Hollywood Center, which I am in charge of the Hollywood Center. We are also a proud, micro lender of SBA, EDA and iBank lender, as well as a certified CDFI. So, what goes about today's workshop. So given the recent developments and ongoing activities in Los Angeles, we felt that it's important to provide our small businesses with timely information regarding their legal rights. So this workshop is a result of collaborative effort between PACE, BetZedek, and Council member Hugo Soto Martinez's office. So I'd like to introduce Nadia Segura, Director of the Small Business Development Program at BetZedek, and Hector Vega, Deputy District Director from Council District 13, representing Council Member Hugo Soto Martinez's office. So we are hopeful that Council Member will be able to join us toward the end of the session to share some remarks with us. So I will now turn it over to Nadia to introduce herself and kick off the workshop. Just a quick reminder, we will have a Q&A session toward the end of the workshop. So if you have any question, please write it in, use the Q&A box, write your questions, and we'll make sure to respond to all the questions at the end. So thank you all once again, and let's get started. Thank you. Nadia, it's all yours.
Thank you. I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen.
Yes, let me stop my share.
Okay. Can you see my screen now?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, let me go ahead. I am not sure why I cannot. Here, okay. Give me 1 second. I'm having issues on my end. I cannot see it. So sorry. I will stop sharing. I cannot see it on my end. Give me 1 second. I don't know why. It's like froze. It froze on my end.
Okay, right. I just want to mention to everyone that we will have this session, the same session repeated on next week, Thursday at 3 p.m. The next session will be in Spanish. If you would be interested, you can join it again.
Okay. Can you see it now?
Yes.
Yes? Okay,
yes.
Great. And again, so sorry that happened. My name is Nadia, and I'm the Directing Attorney of the Small Business Program at BetZedek. We are very happy to be here, and we just want to, first of all, say that this is a safe space and that everything that we share today, of course, will remain just within the people that is here. I know that they are recording, so if you have specific questions regarding your business or your specific legal case, we recommend that you reach out to BetZedek to have that private conversation. But that being said, we are here to support the community, and we want to make sure that everyone feels just safe sharing whatever they need to share or ask any questions that they may have. I'm going to start just by providing some background on BetZedek and who we are. We are a nonprofit organization that has been in the community for now over 50 years, and we provide free legal services in Los Angeles County regardless of anyone's race, religion, ethnicity, or immigration status. Today, in specific, I'm going to talk more about the small business program and how we can serve small business owners and entrepreneurs in the community. We provide free legal services strictly on transactional matters. What that means is that we can help businesses review their commercial leases, draft a contract, answer questions regarding employment law, insurance. And related to the topic that we are going to discuss today, we've been working with small businesses on creating immigration policies tailored for their businesses to be prepared on how to respond if immigration authorities visit your business. So that is part of the businesses that we have. We also provide these workshops. We have as it was mentioned, another workshop in Spanish, and we provide different workshops on different topics related to the areas that we serve the community. All the services that we provide, as I said, are free, but we do have eligibility criteria. We focus on helping low to moderate income entrepreneurs. So whenever you apply for services, we're going to put the link on the chat. We will ask you some information regarding your income to make sure that we can assist you. As I said, we focus on helping low to moderate income entrepreneurs. I'm gonna start just by saying, and I'm an attorney, that all the information that is shared today is for educational purposes. As I mentioned before, if you have specific questions regarding your business, we recommend that you reach out to us and create an appointment, and we will be able to answer any specific questions that you may have about your business. But everything that is shared today is for educational purposes. So before we start talking more about specific know your rights, we wanted to start with basic considerations that immigrant small business owners should keep in mind. One of the main things that have changed over the last 6 months is that now the IRS is sharing information with the federal government. So a lot of small business owners, when they start their business, they have questions around creating an entity on whether that's the best step for their business. With the changes on the federal government and having IRS sharing some of the information with immigration authorities, we think that it's relevant that small businesses are sure that they have in place the specific protocols or um, contracts or other type of disclaimers in their businesses if they are not able to go ahead and incorporate an entity. So for some small business owners, it might be best to just stay as a sole proprietor and don't go ahead and incorporate a business because of the immigration eh, eh, repercussions that it could have. So I just want to share that, and through the program we can provide assistance with drafting those contracts, reviewing insurance policies that can help protect your business, even though you may not be able at this time to go ahead and incorporate an entity. So that's just something that we want for people to keep in mind, as this has a big change. This has been a big change over the last 6 months. The other thing that we wanted to have for people to keep in mind is also the Corporate Transparency Act and what is called the BOI filing. Last year, this was a requirement. Right now, there's a case in the courts that basically is looking at this law, and right now it's not being applied for local entities or national entities. The requirement for the BOI filing is just required for foreign reporting companies, but basically what this reporting requested from small businesses and from owners of LLCs and corporations was to provide information regarding the owners of those entities, but very detailed information, including a copy of your ID, address, and everything else. So for the immigrant community, this was also a big concern. As I said, right now, this law is not being enforced, but it's something that may change over time. So it is important that if this becomes a requirement later on the year, that you take the necessary steps to protect yourself and that you talk with your attorneys if this is a requirement again in the future. And we're just putting it there as I said, something to keep in mind. We also wanted to share some general resources for immigrant small business owners from some of our partner organizations. You can look at them once you get the slides from today's presentation. And we're not talking specific about navigating immigration regulations and specific considerations for small businesses. the first thing that we want to say is that we are sharing this presentation and making sure that people have this information just because it's important to have everyone safe in your business. So what we want to try to do is to create a safe environment not only for your employees but also for your customers. I think something that the community didn't expect it when the rates started happening. It was that it was gonna be everywhere, that they may go to different types of businesses, and that lack of preparation for these situations is what caught a lot of people by surprise. What we think is very important is that as a small business owner, you have a plan and you be prepared um, in case immigration authorities show at your business, to know what steps you need to take to make sure that everyone in your community and your business, as I said, employees and customers are safe. So today in specific, we are going to talk about how to be prepared, some important data security practices. As we work as small business owners and we continue getting information from our clients through the program, we see a lot of consultancy companies, people that is sharing different types of services. How you manage the data of your customers and your employees is very important. So we're going to talk about that. We're also going to talk about the I-9 compliance responsibilities, and then what are your rights during an encounter. So we're going to start with the data collection and storage best practices. As we have access to technology, we are telling small businesses that it's very important that they have files, and we recommend that they are in an electronic format. So if you're a type of business that used to have contracts in paper, or like you're a consultancy company and you keep a lot of these files in paper that may have confidential information or information that can be detrimental for your customers or employees, it's very important that you start to transition to have everything like that in an electronic format, and that you have a specific password control to say like two-side security authentication to make sure that that information is safe. The other thing that we are asking small businesses and the community in general is to also look at the information that you are collecting and making a real assessment on what information is actually necessary for you to be able to provide the services. Um, I am sorry. Are you seeing my slides? Because I still don't see them on my end. Yeah.
I'm seeing data collection and storage best practices.
Okay, great. Yeah, we are there. So as I was saying, it is very important that you consider what information is actually relevant for you to be able to be collecting. Ask yourself if certain information about maybe someone's immigration status is actually necessary. If you are collecting addresses, if you actually need the full address, or maybe just with the city and the zip code is enough for the purposes of your business. So just making sure that you are collecting information that is only necessary, that you have the security protocols in place to make sure that you are collecting the information in the right way. And the most important, that you have a data policy that is available for your staff, to be able for everyone to know what are the policies regarding data protection, and that you actually follow all the guidelines that you create around data protection. And this goes to two ways, for all the information that you are collecting from your employees, but also information that you may be collecting from your clients. We were talking with a small business and they were like, well, yeah, I have all the information regarding my employees in paper, and it's just like in a space in the office. It might be better, because if immigration authorities come and this information is like on a public space, and I'm going to talk more about the difference between public and private spaces, and it's just available there, it might be information that is at risk. So that's why we are making an important emphasis on how do you collect your data, what protections do you have for your data, and where are you storing it. The next thing that we are going to talk about is the I-9 compliance. So in an overview of the I-9 compliance is that employees at the end are responsible for verifying the employment eligibility of their workforce to the I-9 form process. Basically, through the I-9, you have to fill out this form and then make sure that you are reviewing that your staff has the necessary employment authorization to be able to be working in this country. The next slide is going to talk about what happens when you get an audit. But what we are telling small business owners is that it's very important that you are preparing your business for these audits in advance, and that you have internal audits or systems in place to make sure that you are verifying your staff's employment authorization. I was talking with someone that said, well, actually, once they start working with me, I do review the employment authorization, but then I never like check whether it has expired or like what is the current status of that person. So making sure that you are having these internal audits to make sure that you have all the information that might be necessary in case you get an audit. But what is also very important is that you create a separate file regarding the I-9 audit that is different, or like the I-9 documentation that is separate from the employee's files, because at the end, the information from your employee might be related to health insurance or any other information that you may have from your employee. That information is confidential and no one should have access to that information. So all the information related to the I-9 must be separated. And the other question that we received recently is, well, I have all the information from all the employees that need to have an I-9 together. Well, it is important that you separate that per employee. So if they are asking you information about one employee, they don't have access to the information of someone else's. Everything must be separated per employee. And as I said, it must be separate from the rest of the employee file. So what happens when you get an audit regarding the I-9 compliance? First of all is when immigration authorities go to a business, they shouldn't be able to review any of the information regarding your employees without the appropriate documentation. And in a little bit, I'm going to talk about the different warrants that they may have that they need to have to be able to access this information. With the I-9, the process is that they will send you a notice, and then they will say a specific time in which the audit is going to take place. So what is important is that once you receive that notice, if you have counsel that you feel comfortable talking to, reach out to your attorney so you are prepared for that audit. Then once the notice is delivered, as I said, they will tell you the time and the date. It might be in person. They may ask you to send information. So if the audit is in person, what we are telling everyone is that it's very important that you have a designated person that is gonna be there to take care of the audit. So you shouldn't have other employees that are not that designated person talking with immigration authorities, and you may have, like as I said before, it's important that you have specific files and everything separated from the rest of the employee documents when you are providing all the documentation that they may ask. If any unauthorized workers are identified, you have 10 days to provide either the valid work authorization, or you need to terminate that employment relationship. So if you know after you do your internal audit that some of your employees might be at risk, it's important that you share that you need to get this important information from them, and that it might be safer for them not to come until they have the appropriate documents, so you can prove that they are working with the appropriate documentation. So that is something important to keep in mind as you are going through the audit. The other thing that, and the last point that we have on this slide is that what I said before, conducting internal audits to make sure that you are complying with this information, because if not, your employees can be at risk if they don't have the appropriate documents. Now we are gonna move ahead and talk on what happens when there are immigration enforcement encounters. So the first thing is to keep in mind all the universal rights that no matter if they are your customers or your employees, they should keep in mind as they are having this interaction with immigration authorities. What is also very important is like the protections that you can put in place for your workers. Also, who are the key agencies that are making these enforcements, and then any enforcement protocols and the different warrants that I said I'm going to talk about once one of these immigration authorities shows at your business. So responding to immigration enforcement at your door. So what happens when there's actually someone at your door saying that they are immigration and they want to come to the business, or they just show up at the business? The first thing that is important to keep in mind is that they can only come into your business, and the private areas of your business, if they have the appropriate warrant. So we've been hearing a lot about the differences between private and public spaces. And an example of that is, for example, also at our office, we have an space which is our lobby, where anyone can go to be able to get an appointment, to ask about their case. So that area, that lobby, is considered a public space because anyone has access. Besides that public space, we have different private spaces, which are the areas, the offices in which only people with appointments can go ahead and enter. And there's someone at the door making sure that no one else can enter that private space without an appointment. So what we've been recommending clients is to make sure that you identify in your business what areas are considered private and public, because immigration authorities are not able to get to those private spaces if they don't have the appropriate warrant, and to put specific signs in place that establish what areas are considered public and private. And the most important is to actually enforce that difference between private and public spaces. Because if you, for example, say that an area says that an area is private, but that actual door is like unlocked, anyone actually can enter, even though you are saying that it's a private space, that can basically create a doubt of that area actually being private. So if you are designated areas in your business as private, making sure that you're enforcing that private space. The other thing is, I think we have received a lot of questions, for example, from restaurants. Spaces like the kitchen can be considered private if you have the appropriate signs. And as I said, you actually enforce that no one that is not the people working on the kitchen can enter. And as I'm gonna talk later, you need to make sure that if they come to your to your business and they want to enter to these private places, they have the appropriate warrants, and that the warrants are actually for your business. So it says the name of your business, the address of your business. Because a lot of the things that we are seeing now too is that sometimes they show and they just show you a document and people get scared, they don't verify it. So that's why having immigration policies in place, and I'm going to talk more about it, can help you to make sure that you are following all the steps to verify whether that order is valid or not. So the first response that we are telling everyone is, as part of that immigration policy, designate who is going to be the person in charge in your business to have the direct interaction with the authorities, asking them for their names, the agency that they are coming from, saying that you are that authorized person to talk with them. So maintain, and then that person that is there should maintain the calm and should be considered the designated authorized person to talk with them. If you don't have that authorized person on site, there should be someone that says that they are not allowed to speak with the authorities, but that they are going to call the appropriate person that will be able to have that interaction. And then the entry request protocols. So you have to inform officials that they cannot enter what we discussed, private areas, unless they have the official warrant. And then making sure that you verify the warrant. And I'm going to talk more about that. So there are different documents that are important in these interactions. The most important are like the warrants and the subpoenas. So the warrants, an overview of the warrants are like legal documents that are issued by a judge to authorize law enforcement to perform specific actions as arrest and searches. So without the specific search warrant or arrest warrant, authorities should not be able to take anyone, and should not be allowed to be able to get onto private spaces. The difference, as you can see from administrative warrants and search and arrest warrants, is that the search and arrest warrants need to be signed by a judge, and the administrative warrants don't have to be signed by a judge, but it can be signed by any immigration officials. So if you receive one of these documents, it is important that you actually look into the document and review that it was signed by a judge. Without that specific search warrant or arrest warrant, the authorities doesn't have the any actions that don't follow these are not legal. And people have been asking me, like, we are seeing that that is happening even though they don't have the warrants. What can we do? The recommendation is to go ahead and document any interactions that are not following the law to be able to take an action in the future. During the moment, as we are explaining of that specific encounter, it is important that you have a designated person to be speaking with the authorities, another person that will be documenting, and I'm going to talk about that in a minute, as you see, documenting the encounter, and then someone that is recording the encounter. We don't recommend that you have everyone on the business with their phones out saying that they are documenting, because that creates, we have seen like that creates more anxiety. It can create it can escalate the situation. Our recommendation is that you have designated people in your business that will be in charge of taking those specific documentation and that taking those specific videos. We also recommend that some of the documentation is done in paper, to avoid people's like authorities saying that if you are with your phone, maybe you are deleting information or you are using like doing wrong use of your phone. So someone that documents everything in writing, the time in which the officials arrived, the names that they provided, the agency that they were coming from, what they were saying that they were asking for. So document everything in writing, and then having someone that actually can record the situation. As I said, we understand that sometimes they are not following the law and that they may not have the appropriate documents. And the best way to fight that back is by documenting and be able to create a case in the future. So, what to do actually during the immigration encounter when authorities are there? So, the first thing is that everyone has the right to remain silent, and it is very important that you make your employees aware of this, and any customers, if you want, as they are coming through your business, maybe you can have a sign that has the specific phrases that you can say. But that's the first one, making sure that everyone knows that they have the right to remain silent. You have the right to request the official identification from anyone that is there, and they should be able to provide you with their names and the agency they are coming from. Deny the entry without the warrant. Again, it's important that you review the documents to make sure that they are actually a warrant, and then documenting the encounter. And after the encounter, consulting with an attorney to make sure that anything that wasn't according to the law can be documented, and it could be evidence that can be used in a case. So these are the specific phrases. I think we have, like all of us might be familiar with the red cards and like these phrases, but it's important just to keep them in mind. And as I said, share them with your employees so they are aware of what are their rights to during an encounter. I'm not authorized to speak with you. We have an authorized person that will be speaking with the authorities. I don't wish to answer your questions. I don't consent your entry into private areas. I don't give permission to search my person. If they don't have a specific warrant for that, I am free to leave. Making sure that you understand all these questions and that you keep them in mind during the encounter. What we are saying too is basically it is important that you have all this in mind and that you have steps and you are prepared for this, so the situation don't take you by surprise as it has been happening. And again, going to the documenting the encounters, so it is important that you identify the key information, beginning with the date, as I said, time, location of the encounter, the official actions, documenting the purpose, what they say they were there, what they were looking for. If they were saying that they are looking for like the I-9, that they want to start an I-9 audit, as I said, they need to give you the appropriate notice, record any observations, any unusual behaviors, or any actions taken by officials that weren't according to the law, and then compile of this information and records to be able to share with counsel, to take them to a specific case if that's needed. And then the other thing that we are telling the community to make sure that they keep in mind is that after the encounter, creating a space for your employees and any customers that might have been there to share how they felt and create a safe environment for them to share what happened after the encounter. The other important thing that we are sharing as part of being prepared is to have an emergency contact for everyone in your business. I think sometimes businesses ask for that emergency contact at the beginning when they hire someone, but those contacts might not be the most recent ones. A good way to be able to prepare is to have the emergency contact in case someone is taken. They can reach out. You can go ahead and reach out that family to make sure that they start looking for that person that might have been taken. But if you don't have the emergency contacts or those are not up to date, it will be very difficult for you to reach out to the family. So that's why we are saying that a way to support affected individuals is to have the right emergency contact information from your employees. Creating an organizational debriefing, what went well, what went wrong. Of course, during these situations, there's a lot of anxiety, people is scared. But as I said, being prepared is the best way to avoid things like of the situation escalating. And that is by having steps and who is going to be documented and all of that, have a policy in place that can help you be prepared for these situations. And then employment considerations, review any employee contracts, make sure that you have all the appropriate documents for your staff. Um, and then we're going to talk about creating this writing policy. Um, as I said, and I'm happy to share after the event on the links, we created a guide that has an example of a policy that people can use for their own businesses. And through the program, we are happy to tailor that specific policy for you and your business. But what are the best things or like the most important things to have on the policy? So first of all, having the policy can protect the rights of your business and your any individuals there, your customers, your employees, because you have a document that establishes what are the steps that the business is following in case of an encounter. So as I said, if you have an authorized person, you can, and that person is not there, someone that is during the encounter can say, well, the authorized person is this one, as you can see on the policy. So being prepared helps you to be prepared and to reduce reduce stress during the encounters. So what are the key elements of the policy? Clearly define the facilities and locations that are covered by the policy, establishing guidelines for data protection, how can you share that information, what information might be kept, and then detailing the specific staff responses during the encounters and the specific authorized persons for documenting the encounter and speaking with the authorities. There's also some specific policies that might be a little bit different, specifically with businesses related to the healthcare system, because they are more like with HIPAA and everything else, there are other protections that need to be in place. So if your business is like that, there might be additional things that you need to include in your policy. And then other special considerations is ensure compliance with all legal standards. What we are telling everyone is that as part of everything that is happening, it's a good moment for businesses to make sure that they are up to date on all their licenses, that they are paying all their taxes, because a big issue is that maybe you are not up to date with your taxes, so then an audit comes through that and then they realize other things are not okay with your business. So making sure that you're complying with the law, just to make sure that everyone else that is in your business and your community is protected, and that you are following everything that is needed to make sure that your business is operating according to the law, so there are no questions asked in any of these encounters. And again, benefits of the policies, reducing anxiety, creating a reference framework for what needs to be done so you are prepared. And as I've been saying, please contact us to receive any guidance on drafting this policy. And I'm very, very happy to also share with you that model policy that we have created. In that guide, we also have examples of what the signs should say to be able to separate the private and public areas, and then other important model documents that are related to the policy that can help your business. So I'm gonna conclude now because we've been having a lot of questions at the end, so I wanted to leave time for questions. But again, just to reiterate, it's important to be prepared. It's important to create awareness. I feel like sometimes in the community we are like, we don't talk about that topic because we will then attract that for happening to our business. I think in these times, what is the most important is to be prepared to actually talk. What are the steps that the business is going to follow? Who are the authorized persons? have a specific response protocols, and creating all this documentation protocols to make sure that everything is in writing. You have recordings and everything if something goes wrong. And as I said, I think having that policy for your specific business is really important, because even though we have that template, what might apply to a business might be different to what applies to yours. So that's why we recommend reaching out to us if you want help on creating that specific policy. And that is it. I don't know if anyone has questions. I saw some of them on the chat.
Give me a second. On the chat, there is no questions.
Okay.
Okay, I just I shared the contact information for you, for Hector and myself, just in case they will need,
And I'm gonna put I'm happy to put the guide in a minute.
Okay.
So I don't know if anyone has questions. I'm happy to answer them. Or you, Hector, or to Bardohi, I don't know if you've been like receiving questions from your businesses or clients, and I'm happy to answer those.
Anyone, if you have any question, if you feel more comfortable to you want to ask your question rather than writing, please let me know. I can unmute you and you can ask your question. Raise your hand, I can, unmute you. I don't see any
questions.
Yes, no.
Okay, I'm happy to include the guides here, and I'm gonna go ahead and just share my screen again, so you can see some of the policies that we recommend businesses to have in place. I think it's always good, like when you actually see it. So give me 1 second, I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen. Okay. Okay, can you see the screen?
Yes.
Okay, so these are some of the templates. As you can see here, we have the model policy, and I'm gonna put the link on the chat. But it includes what is the scope and the purpose of the policy, who are the authority and responsibilities, the organization or your business designates specific members or like authorized representatives that can interact with immigration officials. And it's very important here that you include the name, title, and the phone, and who are if you have a primary representative, then who is going to be the secondary representative. Like a lot of businesses may have different chiefs. So if you have two chiefs and then people change during the day, it is important that you have designated people during the day and the afternoon, for example. What are the staff responsibilities, notifying the authorized representative, what is the emergency notification system, what are the response procedures, keeping, for example, the door closed when speaking with officials, requesting the official identification, like ID from the officials, names, all that. How you are gonna verify the warrant, all the steps are necessary to verify the warrant. And then how are you going to be implementing the policy? What we are telling everyone is that once you have the policy in place, you should have a meeting with your staff to make sure that everyone has access to the policy and know what the steps are. I think it's very important to be prepared and having that meeting with your staff and everyone involved, so the policy actually can be applied, because you may have a policy, but if nobody knows about it, it's not going to be useful. And then this is a template on what you can include as the private property notice. This facility is private property. The property owner and management are not authorized to consent entry without the specific warrant. We also have some of these examples in Spanish of what the document, like the specific signs should say. This is just one of those examples. And then the form on documenting actually the enforcement encounters, the date, the time, the location, who is completing the form, number of the officials. As you can see, all this is the information that is relevant to be included. Were weapons visible? Was movement restricted? What areas were accessed? Questions asked? Actions taken by staff, and any notes. But I think this gives everyone an idea of what is important to be done during the specific encounter. And then this is also a template for the authorized representative responsibilities. How are you gonna respond? What are you gonna do once they arrive, during the encounter, and then any post-encounter responsibilities for that authorized person. And then this is how are you gonna train your staff, specific areas that we consider that are important for you to consider when you are training your staff once you have the policy. So we include all of that here. And as I said, we're happy to discuss this specifically with businesses to create something that is tailored to them and the specific needs that they may have. Okay. But I
Nadia,
think
I have a
yeah.
question. Will you be able to share those templates with us that we can send to, to everyone who is like attending this
Yeah,
session?
let me go ahead and put the links right now on the chat, okay?
Oh, that
And I
would be
can send
great.
them to you
Thank
too.
you. Thank you.
Yeah.
And I have a question myself. We had many street vendors like coming to us, getting the street vendors. So forgive me if you mentioned this during your conversation and I missed it, but I would like to know for the street vendors who are like here, they have certain, documentation, doing like in process, okay? So what they should have with them, if they are like coming to the street, what they should have with them to make them, feel safe if they are there, if they have doing everything, correctly as a street vendor, they have permit everything. So what else they should have to make sure that, in case anything happens, they are like, they have proper documents with them.
Yeah, so I would say the most important is to have a copy of all these permits that you need to have to be a street vendor. Also, if you have like if you're authorized to work, like having those specific documents with you, like your passport or your green card, if that's the documentation that you have, to make sure that you show that. The other thing that is important and that people sometimes forget is to, if you are actually taken and they then you will have access to actually call someone with a certain amount of time, memorizing the phone of your attorney or your family members to make sure that you are able to talk to them, because a lot of the times like if they take away your phone and you don't know the number, it will be very difficult for you to communicate with your family. But during that moment, having a copy of all those documents to be able to prove that you are authorized to be selling and that you have the specific permits to be able to do it. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So
I just put the link on the chat for the guide, and
yes.
it has the templates there.
Yes, thank you. So again, I would like to ask the audience if anyone has a question, if you want to raise your hand and ask your question, please feel free to do so. So this session is for you guys, and if you have any question that you want to ask, just feel free to I can unmute you. Oh, we have council member with us now. Hugo Soto Martinez, council member for District 13 is with us. As we mentioned in the beginning, hi, council member. So we mentioned that we will have him with us for some remarks. So we opened the session for the Q&A. So we don't have so far any questions. So I would like to invite you, if you have remarks, to share with us. And in the same time, if there will be any questions after that, we can, address those questions. Yeah.
Hello, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Oh, I don't know if y'all can see me, but
I mean, I can see you.
see me. Oh, wait, I can't see myself. Oh, here we go. Okay, my God. Okay, you think after so many years you know how to use Zoom already, but still having difficulties with that. No, well, first of all, thank you, Hector, for putting this together with different folks. Hector's our business liaison, and this really came out of a day that we were just in the neighborhood and business groups, business managers were coming up to us asking us, what we can do in this moment as an office. So I really want to thank, EWDD, PACE, and Betsedic, because it's good to know that folks were already sort of doing this work. And as an office, we can try to be the conduit and get people some of the resources. We know we're in a very difficult political climate right now, and it's really going to take everybody to do their part and sort of row in the same direction. And so we could do the Know Your Rights, we can do the peaceful marches, the legal defense, but businesses play an important role in keeping our community safe. So I hope folks can take this time, ask as many questions as possible. We have some really incredible people here in Nadia and Bartuhi who know this very well. I think in this moment where things are so uncertain, knowing our rights and what we can do is the most important thing. We have to empower ourselves in order to be able to empower others. And so we'll continue to lead on these issues. And yeah, thank you so much for putting on this all together. And thank you for all the participants that are here today. Hopefully we can spread the word, and there'll be a desire, and we can continue to do this because we know we have a lot of businesses in the district. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Council Member. As Nadia mentioned in the beginning, any business with the specific requirement, they are more welcome to connect directly with Betsedic and share their concern and see how Betsedic can help them. So they provide legal assistance. So all this support is free of cost. So please take the opportunity, connect with them. If you have any question, connect with them. If you have question now, please raise your hand. I can unmute yourself and you can ask your questions. If it is not easy to write it, we can unmute you. So feel free to, just take this opportunity and, address the questions you have. Nadia, is there any other tip you may think of sharing or emphasizing once again for everyone to just let's say the takeaway, there was a lot of information you were sharing, but if you want to give us a little highlights, what would be those?
I would say the main highlight is just to be prepared. I think the worst has been when businesses have been taken by surprise, and it creates this chaos where everyone is out with their phones, people is wrong, nobody knows what to do. So having these procedures in place help to create processes, reduce anxiety, and document anything that might have been done not following the law. So I think that just being prepared, creating your policy, identifying the key staff in your business that will take care of this, so you are prepared in case this happens.
Thank you. And once again, I would like to remind everyone that we will have this session in Spanish. So the next session will be on Thursday next week. It will be July, let me make sure that I'm correct, July 17 at 3 p.m. So if you know anyone who you think they will benefit from this session, and again, it's in Spanish language, so please feel free to share the information. We are going to send the flyers out in Spanish language too. So we are hoping that these sessions are helping you. Again, if you don't have any question now, that's okay. If you have any question, you are always most welcome to connect with us, and we will be glad if we can help you. So our contact details in the chat. Please copy those contact information, and we will wait for a couple of more minutes if there will be any questions, and then we will close our session. Thank you. And once again, thank you, Nadia, for doing this, and thank you, Hector, for coordinating, you know, and like bringing this, like, everything together.
Okay, I don't see any other questions. So thank you so much. I put all the links on the chat, and if you have any questions, you can reach out to us. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Bye.
Okay, thank you so much. I will stay for